Beneath the roaring traffic lanes of Orion Prime, hidden behind glowing moss and forgotten fences, a faint cry slipped through the static of a patrol scanner. Officer Ronan Hale followed it and froze. There, wrapped in cold crystal chains, lay a skeletal baby dragon whose dim golden eyes still held a flicker of hope. Starving, trembling, and moments from fading, she lifted her head and wagged her frail tail, as if daring the universe to give her one last chance. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where are you watching from. Now let's jump into the story. The morning lights of Orion Prime stretched thin and pale, like watercolors across the cloud lanes. Officer Ronan Hale guided his patrol glider along the eastbound skyway, where cargo drones hummed and commuters flashed past. His scanner, usually dull and predictable, jolted with a rare tone. A faint biosignal flickered near a maintenance barrier no one ever checked unless a storm blew out the fuses. Ronan slowed and drifted toward the shoulder. Glow moss covered the barrier in sheets of soft light, hiding a narrow service path. The scanner pinged again, sharper this time, and something in Ronan's chest tightened. He cut the engine, stepped out, and let the noise of the skyway fall behind him. The air smelled like metal rain and something else he remembered from a distance. Dragon scent, but it carried a thin edge of worry. He pushed aside the glow moss and saw her. A small dragon curled close to the fence post, tethered by crystal links meant for crates, not living beings. Her scales, which should have held a gentle shine, were matte and pale. She looked up with eyes dulled by hunger, but not by despair. When Ronan whispered, "Easy, little one," her tail moved, not in fear, but in a small, hopeful wave, as if hope itself refused to lie down. Ronan crouched, palms open. "I'm not here to scare you." He placed a ration strip between them. The dragon sniffed. The chain was too short for her to reach. His heart hurt at the thought of whoever placed her here, with food always out of reach. "We'll fix this," he said softly. He toggled his wrist tool to low heat and began to work at the first link. The crystal hissed, then split with a brittle click. A few links fell away, and the dragon flinched from the sound, then pressed her forehead into his sleeve. The purr that followed was a gentle thunder, almost like distant storm drums far beyond the city. "There you go," he murmured. "One more." The last link fell, and the chain slid into the dirt, like a bad dream finally ending. She tried to stand and swayed. Ronan caught her steady, kept his movements slow so she could read him and decide he was safe. She was lighter than she should be, all angles and delicate bones. "You're okay now," he said. "We're going to the recovery hub." He opened the glider door and set a soft blanket on the seat. The dragon climbed in with a brave little hop and curled herself in a way that said she wanted to believe this was real. As the glider lifted, city towers drifted past like tall watchers. Ronan sent a quiet notice. Unit Hale, transporting an unregistered juvenile drake to Orion Wildlife Recovery Hub. Condition: weak, cooperative, no ID tag. The reply was swift. Copy. The dragon kept her head on his arm as he flew. Sometimes she looked up at him, like she needed to be sure he was still there. Each time, he nodded and smiled. By the time they crossed the river of glass, a long stretch of plated solar panels that cut through the district, he had already started calling her Lumina in his head. because when the sun touched her scales, even now, they gave back a soft glow from somewhere deep within, like she carried a morning of her own. The hub rose from the outskirts like a ring of bright domes set among windbreak trees and clean soil paths. Handlers waited with a float stretcher and gentle hands. As they approached, Lumina curled a small claw around Ronan's sleeve. He understood. "I'll stay nearby," he promised. "You're not alone." Inside the entry bay, the air felt warm and kind. Dr. Mina Quill met them with a calm face and bright focus, the way good healers do. "Let's take a look," she said. "Hello, little star." Lumina blinked at the sound of a new voice, made of care. Tests began. Simple, soft touches, a light scan, a careful bath to clean dust from skin and tiny scales. Nurse Jory Tan recorded details, voice even and reassuring. Weight below range, hydration low, scuff wounds present. Dr. Quill added, heart steady, spirit strong. Lumina accepted a warm dish of smooth nutrient blend and ate with polite eagerness, pausing often to check that Ronan was still there. He was. When the exam finished, Dr. Quill looked up. "Whoever left her here expected her to give up," she said. She didn't. Ronan nodded, feeling both relief and anger loosen from his shoulders. "Can she stay in the close ward tonight?" "Yes," Dr. Quill said. "And if you have time, come by tomorrow. Familiar faces help." As evening fell beyond the domes, Ronan stood at the glass and watched Lumina settle into a warm nest lit by a soft lamp shaped like a little moon. She curled in, sighed in the way of small creatures after long fear, and let her eyes close. For the first time in too long, someone would sit nearby and the dark would be gentle. Outside, the skyway lights flickered on one by one, a slow river of pale stars. Ronan breathed out and told the quiet room, "We'll find your people. This is only the start." The promise felt true. Somewhere beyond, kindness was already moving toward them. Morning brought a hush to the hub. Dew rested on the leaf edges of the garden ring, and Lumina's nest glowed softly like a lantern with its own heartbeat. Dr. Mina Quill made her rounds with warm tea, a scanner, and a smile that could steady a room. Nurse Jory Tan checked the chart and hummed a tune that sounded like sunlight through blinds. Lumina stirred, stretched careful wings, and sent a small trill that meant hello. Volunteers arrived after breakfast. Nico carried clean bedding on his shoulder and told calm jokes that never chased a laugh. They just placed it gently on the table and let it grow. Bessa brought a basket of quiet toys, cloth knots and soft balls sized for small tales. Tamsin set up the therapy loop, a corridor of padded posts and low ramps designed for slow steps and victories that look tiny to the eye but feel huge to the heart. Lumina learned the day's rhythm like she had done so many times in her thoughts. The clock was a comfort. Checks at 7. Light exercise at 9. Bask under the warm lamp at noon. Meet and greet in the late afternoon when visitors walked by the observation window. She began to share a different sound for each friend. For Dr. Quill, a soft chiming hum. For Jory, a playful purr. For Nico, a flap chirp that meant this is fun. For Ronan, when he visited after his shift, a low rolling note that held trust. Adoption interest started the next day. A couple stopped by and kept their distance from the window, as if the glass could protect their neat clothes from stray air. Their words stayed on the surface. They admired the idea of a dragon more than the being herself. Lumina retreated to her blanket and tucked her tail in. Dr. Quill thanked the couple for their time and gently showed them back to the lobby. Afterwards, she brushed Lumina's cheek ridge and said, "No hurry. We wait for people who listen." Later, a man arrived with fast compliments and quick hands that moved too close to the latch. Lumina's throat rumbled. Not loud, but clear. Nico stepped forward, his calm like a door that closes without a sound. "We keep visits scheduled," he said. The man left a card and a smell of trouble. Ronan ran a background check that evening and returned a note to Dr. Quill. "Not safe. Do not call." Everyone slept a little deeper, knowing caution was at work. Days passed, and Lumina's light returned, bit by bit. Her scales found a shimmer again, blue-green at morning and violet at dusk, as if she wore small seasons across her back. Her steps grew steady. She learned to nudge a puzzle box with her tail to release a treat, and when she figured it out, she looked around, as if to say, "Did you see that? I did a thing." Applause was quiet but real. The hub had a way of making even the simplest success feel like sunrise. Jory noticed the way Lumina watched the door each time the bell chimed. "She's waiting," Jory said. Dr. Quill nodded. "Sometimes they know before we do." It sounded like faith, and maybe it was. The hub hosted an open day on a breeze-washed afternoon, with gentle music in the courtyard, and stations where visitors learned about dragon care. A child asked if dragons dream. Bessa answered, "I think they dream about being safe while they are awake." Lumina sat by the window, tail tapping the floor in a hopeful rhythm. From her side of the glass, the world looked wide and kind, but she was still inside, and the door had not yet opened for her. Ronan made time to drop in between patrols. He brought a small cloth square from the Skyway, the place where he found her, cleaned and stitched into a heart. "A marker," he said. "Not of a bad day, but of the turn after it." Lumina pressed her nose to the cloth, then to his palm, as if placing the memory in a different drawer. By the end of the second week, Lumina could glide across the therapy yard in slow arcs, wings out, balance sure. Nico set out little cones and clapped softly when she threaded them without a bump. Bessa filmed short clips to help other hubs teach similar routines. The videos found life online, and messages arrived from distant towns where people wanted to understand kindness better. A quiet evening brought the first rain in days. The domes held a soft drumbeat while visiting hours wound down. Dr. Quill reviewed applications at her desk and paused at a file with compact notes and practical warmth. Tavi Roland, Lena Roland, Ivy Roland. Licenses complete. Land outside the city. Photographs of a simple barn with raised sleeping platforms. A pond with clean banks. A note from Ivy. "I had a dream about a dragon near a quiet fence. I think we are meant to meet." Dr. Quill looked through the glass at Lumina, who had sat upright, alert but not tense, as if the air itself carried news. "Let's invite them tomorrow," Dr. Quill said. Jory wrote a neat appointment in the log. Outside, the rain braided down the dome and made small rivers. Inside, the room breathed easy. Maybe the door was almost ready to open. Lumina settled back into her nest and folded her tail near the little cloth heart. Her eyes held a steady glow now, like lanterns that remember how to shine. Sleep came gently. The hub lights dimmed, and the building seemed to whisper to itself, "Keep going, small one. There is more." The Roland family arrived just after noon, when the garden ring smelled like mint and warm soil. Tavi Roland had hands marked by real work, and a voice that moved slow but sure. Lena brought a woven bag with soft towels and a simple toy she had sewn, a felt fish with a friendly shape. Ivy paused at the doorway, eyes wide, as if she recognized a song she had heard once in a dream and finally remembered the words. Dr. Quill greeted them with her calm that helped everyone breathe. "Thank you for coming," she said. "We take this process with care." Ivy nodded. "We do too." They stood by the observation window first. Lumina sat in the middle of the room, posture open but watchful. The moment Ivy's fingers touched the glass, Lumina's tail began a steady sway. It was not the wild wag of distraction. It looked like recognition. Dr. Quill watched, surprised but not shaken. Sometimes, when the timing is right, the heart makes fast work of certainty. Inside the room, the introduction was slow and respectful. Tavi crouched and kept his hands soft and low. "Hey, bright one," he said. "I'm Tavi." Lumina came close, sniffed his sleeve, and pressed her forehead against his knuckles. Lena knelt too. "We brought a soft thing you can keep if you like," she said, setting the felt fish on the floor. Lumina took the toy gently and set it between them, as if claiming all of them together. Ivy sat cross-legged and did nothing at all for a full minute, which was everything. She simply breathed and let Lumina decide. When Lumina stepped over and settled her head on Ivy's knees, Ivy's eyes filled, and she laughed in that shaky way happiness sometimes begins. "Hi," she whispered. "I see you." They toured the hub and answered questions. The Rolands had 40 acres of mixed field and tree belts, a clean barn with raised platforms and safe heat panels for cold nights, and a training circle for light exercise. They had kept their license active even when life got busy. Lena's notes on feed portions and supplements were neat and realistic. Tavi spoke plainly. "We are not perfect, but we are steady." That sentence felt like a door that would always be oiled and easy to open. Dr. Quill discussed support needs and checkups. Jory shared Lumina's current routine and favorite sounds. Nico showed Ivy the therapy loop and how to watch for signs of tired wings. Bessa handed Ivy a small binder filled with simple diagrams. Ivy absorbed everything like a sponge placed at the river's edge. "We can begin a trial period if you wish," Dr. Quill said. "We think Lumina is ready for home life with the right people." Tavi nodded. "We would like that very much." Ivy looked at Lumina. "We promise to listen." The next 3 days became a gentle bridge. The Rolands arrived each morning and helped with feeding. Ivy learned Lumina's purrs by heart. Lena practiced wing stretches with a timing that matched breath to movement. Tavi fixed a loose latch in the yard without being asked. The hub nothing snagged. Even the small moments showed care. Tavi waiting while Lumina inspected a new bucket. Lena sitting on the floor so she would not seem too tall. Ivy closing her eyes as Lumina tested a longer glide, as if sending courage across the space between them. When the adoption papers were ready, Dr. Quill reviewed every line. "We're here for you after you go home," she said. "You can call day or night." Tavi shook her hand, grateful. Lena hugged Jory and Bessa. Ivy pressed her palm to the glass one last time and whispered, "We will be safe together." Lumina answered with a little bell-like cheer, a sound the staff had not heard before. The drive to the Roland Ranch took them along a silver river and past low hills where wind turbines turned like giant, quiet flowers. Lumina kept her nose near the window and watched the world with the kind of attention that comes when you believe you will keep seeing it tomorrow. The ranch gate opened onto a tidy lane lined with windbreak trees. The barn stood square and simple, built for use more than for show. Beyond it, a pond waited with a gentle green skin and a tiny dock. Ivy unlatched the door and guided Lumina down to the grass. Lumina made a small loop of the yard, then a bigger loop, then went straight to the pond and stood at its edge, still. She looked at her reflection for a long breath, then walked forward until the water held her. Not heavy, not afraid. She splashed, then splashed again, and the sound called every bird near to come and look at Joy. That night they set fresh bedding in the barn with a soft heat panel tuned just right. They expected Lumina to settle there. Instead, as the house lights dimmed, Lumina followed Ivy up the stairs and curled on the rug by the bed, the felt fish under her chin Lena peeked in and whispered, "We can let her stay." Tavi nodded. Safety is a room that fits the heart. Days began to find their pace. Lumina helped Tavi check fence lines by carrying light tools. She learned to step between garden rows with care, so Lena's lettuces stayed uncrushed. In the afternoons, she waited at the lane for Ivy's school transport, tail tapping dust into tiny clouds. Ivy filmed kind clips for a small channel about rescue life. People watched, shared, and sent notes that said, "We did not know the world could be this gentle." One weekend, the family returned with Lumina to the service lane by the Skyway where Ronan had found her. The hub had placed a little plaque there. "Every life deserves a safe tomorrow." Lumina stood and breathed slow. The lane was only a place now, not a wound. Ivy touched her shoulder. "You are free." Lumina lifted her wings and made a sound like a song at first light. It was not anger. It was a marker. Then and now. The sound carried along the road and up into the open day, and whoever heard it felt the gravity in their chest shift a little toward kindness. Weeks became months, and word of Lumina's bright recovery traveled wider than the Roland family ever planned. Ivy's calm videos reached distant towns and other worlds where people had questions, not about owning the dragon, but about caring for one and standing up for better rules. Donations went to small hubs with thin budgets. Neighbors offered time and soft blankets. Gentle action has a way of starting more gentle action, like ripples that never scold the water for moving. A group of advocates invited Lumina to serve as a symbol for kinder laws across the local systems. The family asked, can she do this and still be herself? The answer was yes. Lumina could attend calm gatherings and then head home for a nap on Ivy's rug. She wore no heavy metals, only a simple collar with a small reflective stone shaped like a teardrop of morning. When officials spoke, Lumina sat near Ivy or stretched out at Lena's feet and let presence be the lesson. Strength with quiet, power with care. One chilly evening, Dr. Quill called from the hub. "We have a young male," she said, frightened and stiff with memory. Would Lumina visit? The next day, Lumina stepped into the quiet ward and sat just out of reach. She did not push, did not try to fix. She only breathed and purred, that low note she saved for first days. The young dragon's eyes, sharp with old worry, softened by degrees, the way frost loosens when the sun does nothing more than show up again. By dusk he was eating. By morning he let Jory touch the edge of his wing. Lumina had said more with silence than any speech could carry. The months that followed brought small honors and useful meetings. Some wanted to place Lumina on 1,000 screens at once. The family chose smaller rooms where people could ask real questions and bring pen and paper and leave with plans that fit into their hands. Ronan visited on weekends and scratched behind Lumina's ear ridges in the exact spot she liked, though she was big enough now to shade half the porch. He called her Little Star, and she answered with a rumble that made his tea tremble in the cup. Peace was not boring. It had a steady hum. Mornings meant fence checks, pond swims, and garden breaks. Ivy learned more about care and plans to study wildlife healing. Tavi taught Lumina a funny trick, how to carry a small basket of vegetables in her tail without dropping a single carrot. Lena wrote simple guides on safe feeding and shared them freely. Strangers became friends, and friends became a loose circle that widened until it felt like a net that might hold anyone who fell. On the anniversary of Lumina's freedom, the Rolands hosted a gathering at the ranch. Families arrived with rescue dragons of all sizes, from sleek messenger drakes to sturdy cargo helpers. The hub team came too. Dr. Quill, Jory, Nico, Bessa. and they set up a table with tea and a photo board that showed the first day and the days that followed. Ronan stood by the gate and told the road, "Look at this place now." As evening leaned in, Ivy led Lumina up the gentle hill that looked over the pond and fields. The sun set like an ember rolling behind the far line of trees, leaving a gold edge on everything. People talked in soft clusters. Dragons settled in pairs and trios, their breaths forming patterns that matched the swaying grass. Ivy placed a hand on Lumina's shoulder. "You changed so much," she said, "and you stayed yourself." Tavi and Lena joined them. Tavi's voice came low. "We learned the size of soft." Lena added, "We learned how strong quiet can be." Lumina lifted her wings, not to show power, but to make a shelter. She curved them forward until Ivy and her parents stood within a warm arch of scale and air. A hush fell, not because anyone asked for silence, but because the moment instructed it by example. Lumina made a sound then, not the proud call from the skyway memory, not the soothing purr of first days, but a new voice that seemed to say, "Here we are, and here is enough." One by one, other dragons answered, first near, then far, until the hill and the pond and the fields hummed with a ribbon of tones. People closed their eyes and let the sound move through them. It felt like hands held in the dark, like doors that slide open when you approach without hurry. Even those who still carried doubts felt a small corner of their worry loosen and float away. The song faded the way twilight does, not all at once, but in a soft retreat that leaves behind stars. Someone laughed, someone cried in a way that did not ask for attention, and someone started to pass around bread that Lena had baked that morning. Ronan raised his cup to the sky, and then to the ground, as if to toast both the dream and the road that holds it. In the nights that followed, Lumina stayed what she had always been at the core. A bright life who wagged her tail when friends came up the lane, who loved pond water and warm rugs, who watched Ivy study at a little desk and blinked slow, as if lending her wisdom on quiet pages. She became a bridge many walked without fear, because she stood steady and never asked for anyone to be louder than they were ready to be. Years later, when Ivy returned to the hub as a healer in training, Lumina lounged on the porch and greeted visitors with a soft chirr that meant you are safe to try. Neighbors told newcomers the simple truth. The Roland Ranch is not famous because it is big or grand. It is famous because kindness here is a daily habit, like tying your boots or refilling the kettle. And the ending, unique and true, unfolded not with any grand last act, but with a shared, ordinary promise that proves itself each day. Lumina rested her wings over the people she loved, and those people kept making gentle choices that added up to a world that breathed easier. The lesson was not loud. It did not need to be. Love, repeated in small, friendly steps, had become a quiet engine that turned a whole sky a little kinder. When the porch light clicked off and the moons rose, Lumina settled with her felt fish nearby and let a soft purr roll through the rooms. Somewhere, a distant traveler felt a worry ease and did not know why. Perhaps it was because a dragon on a small ranch sang a bedtime note that promised this: we belong to each other, and that belonging can make even a vast galaxy feel like home.